Well, hello. You're watching Guitar News. I am the Smitchens. And before we get to the guitar, we're going to do some more of that fun, talky stuff where you listen to the soothing sounds of my voice. Okay. Last week we looked at the major scale, and today we're looking at the minor scale. And long story short, the major scale sets kind of a precedence for scales. It's very common practice to take the whole step, half step, whole step, half step of the major scale, and take those other structures of other scales and just sort of set them side by side, like I've done right here, and just take a good look at that. Just really take it in. It doesn't look like much, but you can at least get an idea of, when you know the whole intervals and things like that, you get a kind of a feel for how different the scale is. That whole step, half step compared to the whole step, that sets the minor scale up to have a minor third, and then subsequently you get the minor sixth and minor seventh. The only intervals that are the same between the two scales are the major second and the perfect fourths and fifths. These little characteristics make a dramatic impact on the sound that is generated and employed by this scale. All right, here we have the notes of both the scales. You'll notice there are some similarities. Both are rooted in G, and they share that A, C, and D, which are those aforementioned major second and perfect fourths and fifths, respectively. However, those differences, instead of a B, we have a B flat. Instead of an E and an F sharp, we have E flat and F natural. And those, small differences, but it has a tremendous impact on the personality that comes out of the scale. Okay, a couple more points to point out, I guess. Both of these scales have 7 notes, and they are divided into 5 whole steps and 2 half steps. There is a word for that. It's diatonic. They are diatonic scales. I thought that was pretty cool to know. Another point to emphasize is as you work with scales, you come across some major scales that have the exact same notes as some minor scales, like C major, A minor. What gives? Well, there's a word for that too. Relative. They are relative scales. A relative scale is a scale with the same source material as another scale. You're just calling a different note within that scale your root. In the case of C major, which I've already used as an example, go up to the 6th note. The 6th note in the major scale is A in this case. Well, A is the minor scale. If you look at this little chart here, you take that first whole step, half step from the minor scale, you slap it on the ass end, and you got your major scale. And if this does not make sense, then I strongly encourage you to please speak up, because if you're new to this stuff, it's very easy to be confused with music theory's inconsistent nature. It's a very fickle beast to get into, and the last thing we want is confusion. The purpose here is to alleviate confusion. Okay, and just like last week, it doesn't matter so much to you which notes I have chosen to play for this, but rather the emotion that comes from the minor scale. The goal here is for you to take this understanding and do what you want with it. And the minor scale lends itself to a very sad sound, so if you're listening to something and it sounds sad, you can at least say they're playing something minor. If you're trying to figure out by ear or whatever, you can rest pretty much assured that you can throw out the major thirds and sixths, as they're probably not going to be used. They lend themselves to too much of a bright sound, whereas minor things, minor third, minor sixth, things like that. As far as exercises go, just like the major scale with the one string thing, you can map it out on one string, do that for each string. It makes things very easy if you just play around on one string. I don't know how else to say it. It just really pays for itself. And there's a chart below that has, the neck broken up into a few little shapes. Skim through them while you're watching television or pretending to listen to your mother, wife, girlfriend, whatever, and just sort of build an understanding of where the notes are. Oops, that was wrong, but you understand what I'm getting at here. Just sort of understand where the notes are in these certain little shapes, and it'll meld together. It'll make things easier to move around, and it just makes it easier to sort of guide yourself to play something that sounds, well, good to some extent or another. Anyway, that is really about it. I've prattled on long enough. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you later.